This is the Uncensored Man radio show. This show contains adult language and content. Listener discretion is advised.
That's my favorite part.
Nice.
That's my favorite part. Bienvenidos,
Beautiful.
buenas tardes. I still
Good
can't
day.
roll my R's. That's the big problem with the Spanish language learning. You got to be able to roll the R's. I can't do it at all.
The rant. Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Uncensored Man podcast. In today's episode of the Uncensored Man podcast, we're going to kick things off with a no-holds-barred rant on the systematic erosion of traditional masculinity in modern media and culture, where men are increasingly depicted as bumbling idiots, emotional wrecks, or outright villains in everything from blockbuster movies to viral ads, stripping away the heroic, stoic archetypes that once inspired generations and replacing them with a watered-down version that leaves young men confused and disempowered in a world that seems hell-bent on undermining their natural strengths. I'm your host, Corey Bricker, and my co-host, the Good Doc. Good day, Mr. Doc.
Good day. That was wow. That was academic. That was professorial.
Professorial.
Beautiful.
Well, it seems like it's a bit of a watered-down version of masculinity that we've got going on here. Men are under attack. You know, social media portrays men as weak, incompetent, or villainous, right? In contrast with, the strong, stoic archetypes of the past, right?
Yeah.
Is this true?
Like Achilles from the Iliad. But I think he was secretly a butt pirate. But yeah.
Yeah.
Of course it's true. We live in a gynocentric society. But, so yeah, men have been under attack for decades. It started in the family court system. And now it's just in general culture. Started in the family court system and in the academia.
So we've been talking about a cultural decay. It's kind of like a theme. And I like it.
Yeah.
I like the cultural decay theme because it really is something that, like, it has changed my mind. I kind of came into the show thinking, I'm a really strong anti-feminist, but really when it boils down to it's just a whole societal decay.
Yeah.
Cultural decay.
Well, yeah. More recent waves of feminism are a result of just cultural decay and cultural rot. So, and I think the larger attack is just on gender roles in general. Because as I said, 2-3 days ago, a lot of women describe themselves in masculine terms. So there's not so much of an attack on masculinity as there's an attack on men being masculine. Does that make sense?
Fair enough. It does seem that way.
So I think that's a more accurate kind of description of it. But yeah, it's part of a broader cultural war. because, the United States today is just so polarized. It's a very polarized place. We have lots of different people living in lots of different places. Yet the pipelines that serve us culture, sewer pipes really, from Hollywood, the mainstream media, sports, all the typical circus things they put up for you. Yes, there's been a trend, especially in the last, I'd say, decade to, attack masculine men, for sure.
In the media, there's been a definite trend, I would say in the last decade as well, where, it's just an attack against traditional male roles. Or maybe it's a perceived attack, but like what you said, maybe it's not so much an attack on masculinity as it is just a rise in feminism, which isn't actually women being, it's just women being strong, independent. They're being more like men. They want to compete with us.
There was an attack on, like I said, men being masculine. The idea is just like there is no leader. Men and women are basically equivalent and interchangeable. And so in order to promote that narrative, you can't really have alpha dominant type of cultural ethos, so to speak. So
Can
now it's equality based.
equality based, can men really even be a leader in a modern family with a modern woman? I mean, is that even possible?
Yeah, it's possible. It's just very hard. I'd say it's hard because it's culturally it's hard to do because like I said, the women aren't feminine and submissive, so yeah, it's very difficult to do. That's a just cultural programming.
Right. I know your
But
take in the past has been not, you just don't even date American women. Is that right?
no, no, not really. I mean, not unless they weren't born here or they're minimally acculturated. No, I don't. I don't waste my time. American dating is very toxic for men and women. It's really not a good situation. But no, I prefer women from other cultures. That's just my preference, as I've talked about.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. Do you feel like the women that you date out of this country are more in line with the traditional male roles, or at least perceived roles? Mm. Like they respect that better? Like,
Yeah, I mean they act like, yeah. I mean they're much more feminine and yeah, they like being told what to do. Well, actually that's not necessarily true. The problem is with society and technology the way it is, unfortunately, American culture gets exported everywhere. So, to some degree, in pretty much every country on earth, the women are becoming more like American women, slowly but surely. There's still a huge lag. Like, you can find women that aren't. So, well, what do I mean when I say like American women? I just mean women that are more independent minded and masculine in terms of their ambitions and especially with how they relate with men. So so all women around the world are becoming like that very slowly but surely. So yeah,
this
but they're still
feeling,
just women. I mean,
right?
you
They
know.
don't. Have you ever heard one of them say, "I'm a strong, independent woman," like a
Oh no.
like a Latina?
What the
Because
fuck?
all American women will say that at one point in time.
Well, a lot of American women will say they value their independence, which is good. I don't have a problem with it. Like I said, I'm fine. It's just living in America and not being able to date the women locally is a problem. That's why that's why a lot of men go overseas. That's why there's a passport bros movement.
Wow,
These things happen for a reason. They don't happen in a vacuum. It's certainly not convenient,
it's
but
not.
on the
It's
other hand, I mean, the chicks in Latin America are super hot. I'm trying to decide if I should go to Colombia next or if I should just, maybe go to the Yucatan. That's a tough decision. It's a very tough decision. But, you got young kids, like you have shared custody. It's like, oh man.
Oh man.
It's tough. It's tough being a digital nomad, but not being able to be much of a nomad. You know what I mean?
Right. It's got its ups and downs for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I think if you can at least try to date women that are foreign, we should at least give it some consideration. Everything today is just black pill and doom and, oh, I'm just lonely and I'll just be lonely and that's it. And it's like, I don't know, man, just put in some effort. Someone's got to fuck these hoes. Might as well be you.
There is hope to get, you can definitely bang some American chicks. It's not really like optimum. It's definitely not biblical, but if you're lonely and you want some action, it can be had.
Lonely, lonely,
Yeah.
lonely, lonely.
It could end up making you more lonely though. I don't know. Sometimes it's just not always all that, like winning, I don't know, just getting involved with women and then just for sex. And then I always think that, if once the sex gets involved, you're going to get attached. Either one of you. Guys say they don't, but I say they do. Women say they don't, but I'm going to say they do. And so anytime you like have a falling out, it always just lends itself to more depression, more loneliness.
Casual sex, even just one encounter, involves feelings and long-term. There's long-term implications for that. It's not. There's no such thing as meaningless sex. In other words.
Very good point.
So, yeah, that's a myth. That's a feminist myth, actually. There are a lot of feminists in academia that think that hookup culture is very good for women, even though it's decidedly not good. Like, for example, casual sex is like one night stands are typically very bad. Women almost universally regret having them. The sex is really bad in most cases. This is what studies show. It ends up being a bad experience. So, but we have a casual sex society. That was one thing that was crazy when I started dating after my divorce is how many chicks would like sleep with you, but then they like not want to talk to you afterwards.
Wow.
It's crazy. That's a crazy concept because women usually do get attached. Like they usually, I don't know. That's a new thing. But you think of being ghosted after you bang a chick, like that girl, that's a chick you definitely don't want to be around anyway if she's like that, if she's that casual.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say, anybody that has sex I don't know. That's what I've always heard. Never have sex with someone on the first date that you actually kind of like. Mm. Have you heard that rule?
I've heard all kinds of gay rules from like all kinds of weird people that get no pussy. Like all these trad casts, like Matt Walsh and shit. No, I don't. I've heard all kinds of things. Obviously, I try to smash on every date. So,
well,
am I always successful? Of course not. But I'd rather go down swing. I always try. That's part of being. Yeah, I guess I always try. I can't remember the last time I said, you know what, I'm not even gonna try. There probably was a time. I don't know. What I do know is if a chick puts in her Tinder profile that she's not down for hookups, then she's definitely down for hookups. There's like a law, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, the more they talk about how much they're not down for it, they usually are. So that's like an inverse. Well, I guess that's yeah. So it's a red flag, but depending on what you're looking for. Yeah, those are the easiest chicks, but it's a humiliation ritual. Dating is.
It's pretty demasculating, I think.
It is emasculating.
It's
But
very emasculating because even if you can hook up with someone and then like there's no, I don't know, there's just nothing to continue on with. I mean, it just, it hurts your feelings, your pride, your ego, whatever. But it's a very empty, lonely feeling. I heard you talking about that in one of your monologues one time. It's like, yeah, it might be great that you can hook up with someone, but in the long run, is it worth it on your mental?
no, well, what happens is guys get hurt, they get their heart broken, and they say, well, I'm just going to be a fuck boy. I'm just going to smash chicks and have casual sex and not get too serious and be nonchalant. And that only works if you are psychologically abnormal, like deeply abnormal, because it involves narcissistic and even psychopathic or antisocial behaviors. It involves manipulation. More than any of that, it involves doing things that aren't really consistent with your own internal set of values and even your own attachment style. So it's a behavior that is what we would call ego dystonic. Like a lot of these guys that get hurt and they go out and then they just run through chicks on Tinder or Hinge or whatever. What's going on there is many of them just are, traumatized. Usually they have attachment trauma, they had a wife cheat on them, whatever the case may be. Some deep type of attachment trauma. But in order for them to engage in the level of promiscuity that they engage in, oftentimes they have to do things like consume alcohol, get high. I mean, they have to enter into an alternative self state, an almost like overtly narcissistic self state.
I've seen a lot of men getting,
And they do that. They have to do that, number one, because it's like I said, the behavior is ego dystonic, so it's not really consistent with their own set of values. And they have to be good manipulators, because seduction and manipulation can be a fine line between those things. So that's what a lot of pickup artistry is, so called, to the extent that it even works, is just manipulative tactics of pathological narcissists and borderlines.
Wow.
So that's why it's not a sustainable solution to serious attachment trauma. I mean, it's not even morally. If you just think morally, it's obviously you've been hurt. It's not really an ideal to go and traumatize like a bunch of other women, because now you're damaging those women. You're contributing to the problem. So morally, it's not good, but it's also not sustainable. It's not going to bring you happiness or fulfillment. Much more likely the opposite.
So it could really have an opposite effect. Whereas just if you were to just stay abstinent, you might in general overall be a happier person. You might feel lonely, but not as bad as if you were to get involved with somebody. Let's say that, it does get into your hurt, you get hurt feelings, your emotions get involved. And then,
well, I don't know, because everybody's different. The thing is, the options aren't between being hyper promiscuous and being involuntarily celibate. Those are just two ends of the extreme. So I would say men just in general need some kind of intimacy. Like it's not normal to go, I guess. Well, I don't know if it's normal, not normal. It's not pleasant, I would say, for most men to go many years, decade or more without intimacy, including sex. See, sex is one part of intimacy, and sex can occur outside of intimacy, where that's the big problem we have in our society today. But I would say most men can't really self-actualize unless they have an intimate relationship. There are a few that can, obviously, but I don't think that would be the majority.
I think we'll call it the dating apocalypse. Why men are opting out. This is leading us into our next topic here. Diving into the heart of our discussion, we explore the full-blown dating apocalypse gripping society today, where countless men are choosing to walk away from the chaotic minefield of modern relationships plagued by unrealistic expectations, hookup culture's empty promises, and the ever-present financial and emotional pitfalls. Emotional pitfalls that make pursuing love feel like a rigged game, prompting a growing movement of self-preservation that's reshaping how we view commitment and personal fulfillment in an age of digital disconnection.
Wow, man.
Wow. So are men opting out, and why are they opting out?
Yeah, a lot of men are choosing to remain single and not date because women are dangerous and expensive and largely not worth it. That's in a short nutshell. At least American women aren't. They're not worth it because they're, like I said, the American culture has made American women less feminine, I guess, and more masculine. So they're less attractive. They're more aggressive.
Agreed.
The family court system, the laws are not up to date. They're like almost 100 years out of date. That come from a time when, women didn't have the same economic opportunities as men did. And so it's very risky to get married, especially if you make more money than your chick, which is becoming less and less likely. So that's the other side of the problem, is women also don't need men. So women are not as receptive to men. Women are not as desperate. Women need men less, and men, as a result, find themselves having fewer and fewer options. The sad and tragic irony is that leads some men to just stop trying altogether. Like, they just don't even groom themselves because they're like, why even bother? And that has the effect of making them even more unattractive. So it's a vicious, multifactorial issue and cycle. And I think there are underlying hormonal things and environmental issues too that would probably take very long time to dissect and talk about. But let's just say there's many cultural / environmental factors that make most men see intimate relationships with American women as being not worth it.
A lot of economic pressures. I know a lot of guys that won't do it, and I've even thought this myself. It's like, I just can't even afford a woman,
Well,
an American woman.
that's the thing, is everything. This is all of this is occurring in the backdrop of an economy that is deteriorating in the short term and in the super long term. Like, you can't really afford property or houses. So it's like, you want to start a family, you need a wife, you need a house. Well, you can't really afford a house.
Increasing numbers of men living in their parents' basement. Women too. 30-year-olds.
Yeah. Yep.
How are you going to start a family if you can't buy a house, pay for vehicles, pay to support your spouse? Because if you're going to start a family, they're going to need to stay home for a while. They're not going to be working.
They're not going to be able to stay home for a while in this kind of economy.
So, what are you looking to do if you're, wanting to start a relationship with someone? Do you want to build with someone? I mean, it takes a lot of planning.
Yeah, you don't. That's the whole point, is you don't.
And this is
because even with all those barriers you mentioned, that assumes you can even attract a woman in the first place.
Yeah. I would say
most women are not attracted. See, American women also, one of the other factors is American women also are just not attracted to the average American men. Average American women don't like average American men.
Right.
They're unattractive. There's even some social psychology studies that interestingly suggest that women sometimes don't even perceive average appearing men. or men who are under a certain height. So,
And
yeah,
often you're not
I mean,
reaching
there's
that
many things going
demographic
on.
right out the gate.
Well, there's just many things going on. So it's the average man is invisible, but the men who are visible just have lots of options. So they don't really always settle for just one option.
Right. There's a lot
Sometimes they will.
dating
Sometimes they
apathy
will,
for
though.
men. A lot of fear of rejection.
Well, when Tinder added the height filter, that should have been the very obvious.
Lot of fatigue.
Even though it was already obvious beforehand, the dating apps aren't designed for men to actually match. I mean, they're not. So
do they have a weight filter yet for the women?
No, they would never add that because now they get money from women.
I see.
Men will still pay for it, but now more women will pay for it because I feel like they waste less time. There's very few women on these apps, by the way. The male to female ratio is very, very, very high. So, it sucks if you're an average guy. Really does, I guess.
It really does. This is why we exist on this show. I think is the average guy is probably, our main demographic. There's a lot of that, guys that are crushing it. They probably don't really need this information, or they're probably not listening to our show, but I could be wrong.
No, I doubt that. I think we're going to have people from all walks of life. Hopefully even chicks will listen to it. Who knows?
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Chicks are welcome to listen. Absolutely.
But those are the issues and the problems. So, and it's getting crazy because even average guys today are trying to make themselves more attractive. That's what you hear about with this whole looks maxing trend.
Looks maxing?
Yeah. People trying to do cosmetic shit to make themselves more attractive, have a more masculine jawline, be thinner, whatever.
Well, yeah, I think
how they groom themselves
than ever before, and their self-esteem is just at an all-time low. As a man, if there's an epidemic of single male loneliness, and the average man isn't even perceived by women, I mean, what does that do to your morals and your self-esteem? I mean, a lot of guys are walking around with their heads down low.
Yeah. Well, the looks maxing thing is just trying to be more attractive. It's a problem focused solution. I don't think it's the greatest solution. You can go way overboard with it. Although I'm a little hypocritical because, for example, I get like Botox. I guess I do looks max. I've been doing it longer than these fucking Zoomers have, though.
Well,
just not to the same quite extreme that they do it. You got guys getting like plastic surgeries and facelifts, deep plane facelifts and shit. The worst thing is the height lengthening surgery. That's fucking horrible, though. To feel like you're too short, and that because it's such a limiting issue. I'm almost 6'3", so
really.
I didn't realize until this whole red pill shit how rare that was. Actually, if you look, there was a map on Facebook, you never know how accurate this bullshit is, that said that the upper Midwest has the tallest people in the U.S. The average height of guys here is like 5'11", which is interesting because it's so much shorter everywhere else. Like if I walk around Mexico or San Salvador, I'm like a foot taller than fucking everybody.
Damn, bro. I didn't realize
which is not always a great thing because then you stand out, like a sore thumb sometimes in places you don't really want to stand out. But yeah, a lot of problems with American society are tied back to feminism and cultural rot and technology, especially social media. Social media has made the women delusional, and as a result of making women delusional, now you have guys that try to live up to the delusional standard of American women. That's why they're getting deep plane facelifts and ankle stretching surgery.
Ankle stretching?
Whatever, height lengthening surgery. That's not done in the U.S., I don't think. It's just like a very, very invasive.
Could you imagine, like, feeling so bad or lowly about yourself that you would actually have them sever your ankles or your shins.
No, I can't imagine that. I felt that way when I was fat, but at least when I was fat, I could do things to change that. You can't really change your height.
Wow,
So,
I mean, apparently you can, but that is just too much.
yeah. But I'm sure, but the surgery is dangerous. It's done in like third world countries. I mean, I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't actually know much about it, but that's the extreme that dudes go today just to get attractive girls, I guess.
Wow.
You know, so I just read books, find some other way. I wish you could turn your libido off. That would be so useful for me.
Well,
How much time how much time do guys waste on things that how much time do guys waste on women? So much.
So much.
So much.
So much so that they're
Money and time. That's like that old saying, you'll never lose money, or you'll never lose women chasing money, but you will lose money chasing women. Incidentally, that only one part of that phrase is true. You will lose money chasing women, that's for sure. But you'll also lose. You're also going to lose women chasing money. That is true. Unfortunately, that's not. That's actually a lie. That's a cope.
Yeah. I don't think
That's a major cope.
Yeah. As long as you've always got money, you'll always have women.
The sad thing is, what men are realizing is you have to lose something to be with a woman. I mean, there's a cost involved. There's no way to get it really for free.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'll probably lose a part of your soul and your manhood. I mean, they're not leaving without taking some part of you, your money, your soul.
Well, it's just they require time and energy, or it requires so much in terms of maintenance to keep yourself attractive in a society where only 20% of the men of reproductive age are even remotely are visible, not even attractive to women. So yeah, there's a cost. The cost is high, but anyway.
Vocal Media 2024 reports that up to 80% of single men are not actively seeking relationships, citing financial concerns, social dynamics, and a preference for personal growth or casual connections over traditional dating.
Uh-huh.
That's high.
Yeah. That's not surprising, though, is it?
No, not at all.
I remember the last date that I was on with an American chick, and it was a woman who was a little bit older than me. I met her at a bar. This is when I was in Chicago. So I was traveling back and forth between South Dakota and Chicago for a few weeks, and I would date in Chicago. And I remember talking to this chick over drinks in a bar, and she casually drops the fact that she's divorced. Why? Oh, how did that come about? Well, we had an open marriage, and my husband was really hurt by the fact that I slept with other men. This is just like suburban chick, seemed like normal, just regular white girl, and her mid 30s, whatever, mid late 30s. Okay, I guess I'm late 30s. So, and I just remember like laughing because I was like 3 blue moons in, and I'm like, I'm not. I had already been thinking about it like really hard, but I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. They're all just fucked up. They're all just so fucked up. Yeah. And they're not. That's not true. That's definitely not true. That's how I felt at the time. A lot of the good ones in America are just at home. They're not on dating apps. I mean, truthfully. But anyway, yeah, that was it for me. I was like, I'm done.
On that note, speaking of open relationships or the swinger types, like I don't know of anybody, and I've only known a handful of them personally, but every couple that I've known were swingers, like always ended in divorce because somebody got butthurt.
Well, I know swingers here in my small town, and they're all miserable drunks.
Yeah, they're not happy.
It's actually pretty popular, but doesn't seem to be a very happy, sane lifestyle. I don't know. I don't know how it could be having your wife bang other dudes, but whatever. I mean, it is what it is. There's some people that convince themselves they can do shit like that.
Yeah.
I mean, It's a it's what it is trying to solve the problem of people getting bored of each other much quicker these days, which is a real problem. See, people make fun of swingers, but they themselves, more than likely, if they're married, are in a miserable fucking marriage, more than likely, or are divorced, or just single. So they make fun. They make fun of the swinger stuff, but the swinger stuff is mostly trying to solve the problem of needing like variety. That's why marriages fail. A lot of marriage. You hear of the 7-year itch or the 8-year itch, whatever the fuck the phrase is.
Yep,
that's a real thing. That's why there are experts talking about marriage contracts that are time limited. So they're like 8 years, 9 years, and after 9 years, you can renew it, or you're just automatically free to go. And you settle all the property. And the reason why they're 9 or 8 years proposed is so that when you have children, you're around for the children's formative years, the first 6 years of their life when their personalities form. That's what I believe Carl Jung called the years where you form your constellated self. So that's why it would be short term like that. Now, something like that does need to happen if the institution of marriage is to remain even remotely relevant. Otherwise, guys are just going to continually not get married. The only ones that are going to get married are the ones that are really stupid or have no money themselves. They're marrying chicks with money, in which case maybe that's a smart move, but that's what's going on.
Hey, could you imagine? Okay, kid, you're 7. Adios.
Well, that's what happens anyway.
It does.
That's what happens anyway. Better that it's planned than unplanned. I mean, if you imagine you marry someone on an 8-year contract or whatever, you just, as the years go by, you negotiate and talk about it and see, like, is this working out? Is it not working out? See, a lot of boomers say, oh, you just got to date and do courtship for a long time to really know that you marry the right person. Like, how many people go around saying, you need to make sure that you marry the right person, or marrying the wrong person can ruin your life? That's the dumb fucking advice, because the fact is we change throughout life. We're not the same people when we get married as we are 10 years later with 2-3 kids and all the, traumas and vicissitudes of life that we suffer in between, when we're at the altar and a decade later. Like, people are different. They change. So it's not possible to marry the right person, quote unquote. Suppose it's possible to marry the wrong person right off the bat, but you can marry the right person and then they just become the wrong person. Or they are the right person and you change and then suddenly they're the wrong person for whatever you become. And we're shaped by our environment and by the incentives that society offers. So part of the thing is also, if you're in a traditional lifelong marriage contract, under the current laws of most states, that greatly incentivizes marital dissolution if there's a party that can gain financially from it. And usually there's one party that gains significantly from it financially. What happens to average people most of the time is both parties just become poor, which, both parties, their living standards just go down. That's what happens in most cases. But it can be the case in select cases that, it's usually women 90% of the time get significant amounts of alimony and financial support with the ability to branch to new mates, so.
Let's shift gears a little bit here. Back to the perspective on man keeping. You talked a little bit about that in one of our last episodes, and like this so-called emotional labor women claim to shoulder in relationships. Is it a legitimate grievance or just another narrative shifting the blame onto men? Can you unpack that a little bit?
Well, for example, the man's-keeping term, I think that comes from an article. I can't remember. It wasn't in the Atlantic. It was in one of those popular periodicals that people refer to for major cultural things. So it wasn't the Atlantic, but it was something similar to that. And it referred to the phenomenon where women feel like they are with men who lack agency. So in other words, the women are acting like mother figures to them constantly, doing their laundry, picking up their clothes, reminding them of things. It's like a picture of toxic codependence. That's what it is. And so that spawned, like, there's trends on TikTok, for example, where the really famous one is a dude wearing a pink tutu, like a ballerina outfit, while the woman like walks next to him carrying like a huge luggage bag in one hand and an infant in the other. And the dude who's in the pink ballerina outfit is like sipping matcha, and he's like, "Hey babe, where do we have to go next?" Or like,
wow,
he's holding an umbrella but only covering himself, and he's like, "Sorry babe, I don't want my matcha to get wet." I mean, they're pretty funny, they're like AI videos.
that's
but
hilarious.
So what is that? Is that real?
Article was from this journal, Psychology of Men and Masculinities, by
Yeah.
Angelica Ferrara.
So is that real? The answer is yes and no. It's real in both sides. In the case of like women that complain about it the loudest, I think in many cases it's an example of projective identification, where they're just projecting the fact that they are like adolescents or infant minded and not mature and codependent. I think that's what's happening in the majority of cases.
Interesting. I mean, I think in a lot of cases it's real. Like I've seen.
In other words, yeah, but it does happen. It happens because most of the Gen Zers are functionally adolescents. Neurocognitively, they're not adults because there are a lot of reasons for that, but I've talked about it. It's called bluebird syndrome.
Bluebird syndrome.
Yeah, but that applies to men and women, younger men and younger women.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it applies both ways. So yes, there are men that desperately need mother figures, but there are women that desperately need parental figures as well. I'm not going to say father figures. I'll just say they need some kind of like special friend or someone to like stay on top of them. And so, yeah, a lot of those women are codependent, but they project that on others. That's where those stupid trends come from, because both sides are equally guilty for that in today's culture. By the way, the reason why men need mother figures is because they're just told they're worthless from day one. So the only, person that even likes them is a woman. The only one that will encourage them and, psychologically support them. So that's what's going on there. Women don't need mother figures in the same way. I mean, they do, obviously. Everybody needs a mother, but women are constantly able to get attention in our society if they are willing to engage in certain behaviors. So the attention economy is very easy for women. It's very hard for men.
Hard for men. Yeah, fair. It's already hard for men. And then if you have a instance where I'll just use myself as an example. I'll just be raw, I mean, my mom was never there for me. She left when I was like, what, 3 or 4? And I think it just left like this deep rooted insecurity about women and maybe I'm guilty of this, in my first marriage, looking for somebody to man keep me, seriously.
Yeah. A lot of us have fallen guilty to that.
I mean, I
that happens
in myself.
The other thing that is a little bit, I think, hypocritical about it is it's just a fact that both men and women, younger men and women, are becoming more narcissistic. So women do want beta losers. That's one of the things red pillars get wrong, is the latest evidence is women actually prefer loser betas. They don't prefer dominant alphas, whatever that means. That's already a flawed concept. But since women like beta males, they like men that are like kind of weak. There are women that like to be depended on too. You've heard of the rescuer woman? The rescuer complex is why there are women that date dudes in prison.
Actually, no, I have not heard of
This is why there are women that will literally get called up by a dude in prison they never met, and then they are like engaged before he even gets out. Now, some of that is, damn, you got to think the game those guys have on the phone, man. They got a mouth on them, man. Like, holy shit.
Wow.
But that's part of that.
Yeah.
Everybody's just fucked up. Everybody's just fucked up. So I don't know what the solution is. I just date Mexican girls.
Yeah.
Or Colombian
Could we
girls or
all just
whatever.
be nice and just automatically nurture each other and take care of each other in a relationship? You would think it would just be that simple, but
no, that doesn't happen. People don't trust each other. Men and women don't trust each other.
No, they don't trust each other.
If you have any kind of experience, most women have a lot of experience with men. A lot of men don't have a lot of experience with women. But if you're one of those men with a lot of experience with women today, the one thing you realize is you just don't. You leave the bar of expectations really low, and you just enjoy the time that you're with them, and you try not to get too long term in your thinking. That's just the sad truth.
Yeah, you better prepare yourself in advance for a letdown. I mean, by just playing it safe, like what you just said.
Well, a lot of people don't trust each other, so they do things like preemptive cheating, because having someone cheat on you for the first time is really traumatic.
Oh.
I mean, having it break up your marriage, for example, is really traumatic. So what that leads to sometimes is in your future relationships, you do that, to avoid, because you think like, oh, if I do it, when it happens to me, it'll hurt less.
Okay.
And a lot of people do that. That happens so much today. And if it doesn't happen like literal physical cheating, it happens in the sense of, like women talk to like many different men at once. Like they entertain them. That's what things like Snapchat and Instagram are for.
This preemptive, and I think that goes for anything that you could be having. If you're suffering PTSD from any number of things, of traumas, I feel like I see this in women and maybe even myself. It's like this preemptive, we do preemptive whatever. If we've been hurt in that department, it's like we just cannot help but like fucking test the waters in that, whatever it was. I've never been really cheated on. I had a gal that was like always talking to dudes around, behind my back, and that really fucked me up. But
well, most women are traumatized. Most women are not whores. They're traumatized. Most women are not promiscuous. Increasingly, a lot of them are celibate. So
right.
What happens is, to some women, particularly young women, is they're more attracted to older guys. So they get older, experienced guys. They have, since the guys are very experienced, they get love bombed. They get taken out on nice dates. They get banged really good, which is in contrast to what happens when they fuck the guys their own age. And it's just like they fall in love for the first time. And then usually it ends abruptly and horribly. And that leaves them deeply scarred. I mean, it's a seriously traumatic thing. Really traumatic. And a lot of them will just never date again. That's a normal response to that.
And why does it usually end so traumatically then?
Well, because the older guys have a million options. They don't just stay. The hot, young, inexperienced chicks go for the older, experienced guys. But the older, experienced guys have lots of options, so they don't stick with just one.
He just gets bored with her, and then he's like, moves on?
Bored or whatever. Just never really committal. I mean, that's all. I mean, you're going to make me examine myself. It's just circumstances. I don't know what to tell you. But it's, when you think about it, it's no wonder why women hate men so much. Why some women hate men so much. They just need to remember that not all men are like that.
You're just letting go of, actually.
What's that?
Is that what you're telling me? Is like you have these, maybe you have some great options. You have these great options of women that are just like basically falling down at your feet, would do anything for you, and you're the one that's letting them go.
Yeah. Yeah, in a way. I mean, usually it's not even letting them go.
And they're not doing anything wrong.
It's just more like not just falling out of their life, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm going to to call and break up with her like we aren't anything. We never, we never decided had an exclusive relationship. So it's like, what do I need to tell her?
Nothing.
All we're doing is going from one meeting to the next. So it's just like I just don't schedule the next meeting. But at the time I make that decision, I'm not thinking there won't be a next meeting. It's just I'm thinking, well, at some point in time, I'll meet up with her again. And then it just, for whatever reason, never happens. Frankly, that's usually because there's just other chicks, other things going on. I mean, it could be a million reasons. It could also just be an act of self-sabotage. A lot of guys that are traumatized self-sabotage their relationships. They don't think they're worthy of love or whatever. I mean, that's a whole conversation, but that happens too.
Yeah, I
So
kind of see
people
this
are just
happening.
messy.
They're messy. There's something to this self-sabotage, though. I can kind of see it happening. I've seen women do it, women that I've dated, just self-sabotage. Like they turn something out of nothing. You know what I mean? They're trying to like,
Men and women constantly self-sabotage.
yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the culture. That's part of the culture. That's a culture that's becoming more narcissistic. Narcissists are self-sabotagers. But even subclinical narcissists can be. Self-sabotage is very common when it comes to intimacy because people get traumatized and it leads to a cycle of trauma in other people.
One thing I've noticed is that there's usually always one party that's more self-centered than the other. And it's like, there's always one that just does like all the talking and needs all the attention. And the other one is just, it can go vice versa. But it just seems like selfishness and self-centeredness is at the root of the problem for most of these things. And most of the breakdowns or breakups, somebody's just entirely too selfish and it just leans one way. It could go both ways, men or women.
Well, I mean, there's always imbalances. People in general are just way more selfish and inner looking than they are able to have normal relationships. And I can't really expound too much on that, but that's just what it seems to be the case. People don't know how to relate to each other, really. And it's no wonder today because you see kids, what do their parents do? They don't even talk to the fucking kids. The kids are on the devices and the parents are on the devices and they're all sitting on the couch in proximity to each other. But do they ever really interact with each other on a meaningful level? So it's like this is the level of interaction people are being raised with today. So now if you have an intimate relationship with someone where you're having deep conversations and really empathizing with them and trying to see things from their perspective or whatever, understand their grounding and footing in life, you're just not equipped to do that.
Not equipped. Well, that's a good segue into our closing chapter here, the red pill reset. And I know you're not a red pill guy, but I feel like there's some things here that can help, with if you're just kind of like stuck in your life here and you're just like swirling in chaos of this cultural degeneracy that we've been talking about, the device addiction, social pressures. What's a blueprint that can, I mean, I guess you don't have to call it the red pill reset, but what would you say is a good blueprint for men, to kind of...
Don't be ambitious. Just do what makes you happy. It's like Richard Feynman once said. He's one of the greatest physicists that ever lived. He said, do whatever makes you happy, and what you have to do to maintain minimal, whatever other activities you have to do to keep society off your back, do it to a minimum. So in other words, don't live to work. Just find something you love doing and make that your purpose. I mean, that's the opposite of a lot of red pill shit where it's just like chase the bag and suffer endlessly. And I don't think that's really the key.
You need to suffer.
Well, you do. There is a lot of truth to that. I mean, what you should do is just the activity I talked about a while ago. Just figure out what the minimum you need to be happy, and then what the prerequisites are for getting those things, and then just do that. Just blindly stumbling from one get rich quick scheme into another is not usually going to be the right move.
This makes me think of a podcast I was listening to the other day. Do you know Alex Hermosi?
I heard the name, yeah.
Alex
Oh, yeah,
Hormozy.
he's like a marketing guy or something?
Yeah, he's a big time influencer. He wears that stupid nose strap in his videos. Looks super gay when he puts it on, but I mean, he's this big buff dude and he's like this multi-gazillionaire, and he came from, living basically, couch surfing to multi-gazillionaire now. But he got rich by opening fitness clubs. And so he's got like this whole arsenal of fitness clubs now. I don't know how many he has.
He's
But he
one of
just
those
started.
guys that advertises courses and shit like that, right?
Yeah, I don't know if he has courses or not now. I just know he just talks a lot on the internet. I'm sure he's probably
I would just be careful. Stay away from self-help gurus and self-improvement
Oh, I'm
gurus.
not pitching his stuff. What I'm getting at is one of the things he talks about in his episodes, right? This is where I'm leading to, is that he had this guy that was working for him. He was just telling the story. It was this personal trainer, and he was doing great, and he got promoted, and he was making like 40,000 a year as a personal trainer. But then he went up to like six figures, right? When he was talking about how the guy was unhappy, he was just like, "Hey, can I just go back to being a personal trainer?" And Alex was like, "Yeah, but you're not gonna be making any money. You're only gonna make 40,000 a year." And the guy's thought about it. And he's like, "That's okay. I'll just be poor then." And he referenced this guy as one of the happiest people he's ever met in his life. And this dude's rich, and he's using him as an example of someone that he like admires and looks up to. He's like, this guy that just says, "Yeah, I'll just be poor, but I'll be happy."
Yeah, I mean, but that's been shown. There are many books that have been written in the last 20, 30 years, and much research has been done. Your income only up to a certain very low point that people far lower than people expect doesn't really add to your happiness the more you get above that. So somewhere in the low six-figure range, you max out your happiness. Maybe it's a little more today because of inflation, but even just going from like 50 to 75,000 or whatever, I mean, it's still, it does, more money does not add as much to your happiness as you think long term.
Could add some more
So,
problems.
and
Does add more
certainly,
problems.
yeah, I mean, not everyone can be a multimillionaire, billionaire. These are just lies and fantasies that are sold by people who are millionaires and billionaires who know very well that most people can't be those things and will never be those things. And so, yeah, just I would say abandon your garbage fantasy world and live in reality. Just find skills that you have, find interests that you love, and pursue some kind of purpose. Do something that you're not bored doing if you can.
Man, that's tough. And that's great. A lot of people say, "Well, follow your passions." Well, that's great, but like you talked about earlier in the episode, we change. And how often have your passions changed too, right?
Frequently.
Frequently. Like one year, one decade, you might be into like flying airplanes, and then all of a sudden you're like over it. You like sell the airplane and you buy a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
You ride a motorcycle for 10 years and then you sell that and you're like, "I'm tired of this. What now? What?" You buy a sports car. I mean, that's just an example.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about like material pursuits. Those are you're going to usually end up empty. Honestly, if you're lost in life, the high T white man thing to do is to pick up a book and just read. Start reading philosophy, read the old philosophers and figure it out. There's a lot of wisdom and knowledge in books. There's hardly any wisdom and knowledge on Instagram Reels and TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're having an existential crisis, then go read the men who spent their whole lives thinking, talking about it, who have IQs that are 50, 60 points higher than you. Do that and then try to figure it out. Don't watch fucking YouTube videos from guys that are billionaires selling courses. I mean, they're billionaires because they sell the courses, not because the courses do anything. I mean, just in most cases. Self-help is a big...
Or just go for a
self-help
walk.
shit is a giant waste of time for
Yeah,
most
just go
people.
for a walk. Like, you'd be surprised how many great ideas come to you when you're just walking. Like, it's overlooked. but just go for a walk. Just walk. Like
You'd be
walk.
surprised how many great ideas come to you when you don't have your phone.
Yeah.
That's most people just need to get rid of their phones too. Or
Yep. You
keep
need
it
to
away from
detach
them
from
all
your
day.
phone. It's true.
But anyway, that's what you have to do. I mean, but as far as we went up from several topics, one to the other. But the key I'd say to all four of them is don't live in fantasy. There's a huge tendency in American culture for us to live in fantasy and to be narrative based as opposed to reality based. So, for example, Trump fired the chick who released the jobs numbers that were shitty, not because she made them shitty, but just because they are really shitty. We have a tendency, we don't want to deal with reality, so we blame the messenger. That's one sign and symptom of a failing society. All you can do is live in reality. So the reality is a lot of women in America are deeply damaged and traumatized. They're not going to be wife material. That's just a fact. You can
Can you
deny
help
it.
them?
You can be sad about it or whatever. You can go be a passport bro or just be MGTOW or whatever, but please don't delude yourself into thinking that your average 30-year-old divorced single mom is psychologically healthy that you meet on Hinge. Like, please don't make those mistakes. Just live in reality. As far as like guys and girls being adolescents, I mean, that's like I said, that's a problem on both sides. Young people today don't grow up as fast. They're highly coddled, highly infantilized. More than anything else, their brains are destroyed with the devices that are in front of them. It used to be just TVs that we had to worry about and shitty consoles. Now you have smartphones and iPads and all kinds of shit that are designed to damage their dopamine reward pathways and to destroy their attention span and render them unable to have social interactions. So
Is that what the video games are doing?
all these things are compounding pre-existing problems. So don't, like I said, when you deal especially with younger women, the Gen Z girls, like just reality based. It's just, enjoy the moment and don't get your hopes up too high. Manage your expectations. You always break your own heart.
And stay safe.
And don't be a pussy yourself. Grow up, manage your problems. Don't just ignore them. Be an adult.
Foster
Try to
good
get
relationships.
on your own feet as best you can. Don't
Foster good
retreat.
relationships with good people.
Don't retreat into the world of video games and neat bucks.
I'm
going to say don't do that. You'll probably be miserable.
Or scrolling TikTok. There's no
If you want to be a neat because you derive meaning from just putting a burden on society, I mean, I think that's fine. I'm saying that without irony. I don't think that's immoral. I think it's totally fine.
What was that again?
If you want to be a neat and just be a MGTOW stay-at-home video game player, I'm not saying all people are in all those camps simultaneously. I'm saying it's okay to do that if you're doing it like with purpose. But if you're doing it because you want to avoid the world, I think that's deeply unhealthy.
Yeah, it's deeply unhealthy.
But yeah, you live in a collapsing society. So just recognize that. And then as far as being happy, I mean, it's unlikely that money is going to make you happy. It may solve some of your problems. It's unlikely it's going to make you happy. And it's definitely not going to give you purpose. And material pursuits rarely add to people's happiness. So, yeah, you just need to do what you love. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to have this main character syndrome idea that you don't matter unless you're a multi-billionaire. That's a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
That's a bunch of nonsense. I don't know why they preach that. That's the opposite of Stoic philosophy. This idea of just pursuing material wealth for its own means is not actually consistent with any of the things that
help you if you listen to it.
What's that?
I'd say Stoic philosophy, it can really help you if you listen to that, like on YouTube. If you want a change of pace, you're just doom scrolling, put on some Stoic philosophy on your YouTube.
Better yet, just go read the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius or the writings of Seneca. You can read it yourself. Don't even go on social media. Just read it yourself.
Fair enough.
It's very easy to follow and understand. But anyway, yeah, that's what it is. So it's not about being pessimistic. It's about just being real. You live in reality. We need more people in society to live in reality, because the more people that are embedded in fantasy, the worse society is going to be. We can't have a fantasy based society. But we
People
also can't fix any problems.
No, you can't solve any problems by checking out. And that's the real epidemic, is people are just checked out. Brain dead. TikTok brain, Facebook brain, Reels brain. And I'm guilty of it too. Like, I'm trying with every ounce of my being to stay in reality and not get like completely sucked into the matrix.
Yeah, you just got to get rid of put the device elsewhere. It's tough. It's hard, but you got to do it.
I'm almost to the point where I feel like I might have to get a damn lockbox and just lock it up on a timer or
Then
something.
do it. If you think you need to, you probably do need to.
Right? It's got such a magnetic pull. It's wild. I just need work to pick back up. That's what'll happen here soon enough. I do the seasonal work, and so it's like got these lulls. It comes and goes, and it's just in the lulls where it's like really bad, because you know what I mean. I have all this extra time on my hands.
Like I said a few days ago, spend
Wow.
less time with your phone and read books, like actual hard copy books, not on your device, so you're not distracted, and force yourself to do it.
Yeah.
You need to reclaim your attention span. I'm telling you, you can't achieve anything. You can't get any measure of success, financial or otherwise, if you're glued to the screens. If you're glued especially to watching social media bullshit.
Do you hear that, guys? You can't achieve any type of success if you're glued to screens. That's a pretty bleak eye opener.
Most people won't be able to. You can't do that. I mean, unless you're analyzing stock charts or something. But, it's just, you can't. You have to break free of your digital addictions.
More like crypto charts, but yeah. Some people like stocks. I like cryptos.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, that's the easiest way to get rich on the shit coins.
Yeah, if you're a degenerate, just don't get. I think right now I think we've reached peak fear right now, or uncertainty. I don't know. That's just where I think we're at. If anybody's following crypto, peak uncertainty in the markets. Watch it. I don't know. I'd watch it dump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to predict where things go, especially with all this tariff situation changes all the time. The problem is, like, the Bitcoin market really very closely follows the U.S. stock market. And since the stock market is very volatile and difficult to predict,
here's what you need to watch.
It makes the crypto market.
Now, this is not financial advice, but if you watch the markets, if you're into crypto, watch what Bitcoin does right now. I would like to see a nice pullback even further, and then watch this September interest rate reports. Because if they lower the interest rates, this could be like one of the best, most amazing times buying opportunities in crypto.
No, I don't think they're going to lower interest rates.
If they do, though, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think it's extremely unlikely.
Well,
the inflation's too high, so I don't think people. I don't think people seriously anticipate that they're going to lower interest rates.
There is speculation, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could happen. It could be a temporary rate reduction. We don't know. Or maybe a slight rate reduction. Or maybe none at all. But if it does, it's just something to look out for. With the markets pulling back right now, and if they pull back even more and we get a little rate reduction, it could just send cryptos into the, it could just go parabolic, for a little while.
They're not going to lower rates even if the stock market tanks and crashes, just because the price of average things is way too high. I think even Jerome Powell more or less said that they weren't going to do that. They've had FOMC chairman come out and say that's not happening. So I wouldn't anticipate that. I wouldn't seriously anticipate that.
Well, I'm not anticipating it, but if it does.
I mean, one thing that could happen is inflation could get worse thanks to the tariffs and the unstable tariff situation. You'd have to know the mind of Trump to figure that out.
Oh, that's not possible.
Oh, it's not possible because he doesn't even know his own mind. I think he makes up the tariff shit and changes it from day to day. That's what I honestly think.
What about housing? I've seen these new charts coming out. I don't have any data on that, but it's like
The housing market is bad in some places and okay in others. In certain markets like Texas and Florida, housing prices have taken a really big hit recently. And the housing market is in a bit of a downturn, and it is suffering from the higher interest rates, obviously. But the inventories are so low. There's very few houses that are in supply. So even though the price of houses is out of, the price range of the average person, like significantly out of the price range of the average person, it is not likely to go down much in the short term, I don't think. I mean, this is what I'm hearing, just simply because there's not a lot of new houses. There's not a lot of supply. So they need to ban the big hedge funds from owning single family houses, but they'll never do that. That's another thing. Like I said, this is another thing that's putting a lot of pressure on young people, is the fact that there's this older generation, and most of whom run the country, are completely and totally unwilling to solve problems that are crushing the younger generations. And they're obviously the property owners. I'm sorry, that's a fact of reality.
Yeah. Well, this is why people are living in their parents' basements.
Well, it's nice of the parents to let them live there.
That's very nice of you, Mom and Dad.
I mean, on the other hand, yeah, I want to get a condo on a beach somewhere.
That sounds more like
maybe in Cartagena. That'd be nice.
Well,
would cost me a fourth of what it costs to rent something in just a regular city. Not even that.
Wow.
So there are options for people if you're creative. This is the age of action. There are opportunities, and you can live a good life, but you got to avoid more things today to be happy, I think, than you do to actually get things. You need to avoid toxic people, which means by extension, you have to avoid social media as much as possible. And you need to engage with reality. Like, stay away from most media, just read books, socialize with people. And socializing is important unless you're a schizo.
Socializing is really
Socializing is important for your mental health. It's also important for your sense of self. If you're just isolated, I mean, you can really retreat into yourself.
That's what I do. That's what I do a lot. It's a sickness.
Good for you.
Bad.
You know what? If that's a problem, just download a language learning app.
I call guys every day, at least 2 or 3 phone calls a day to stay in contact with people. And I always try to make it to town at least once a day and hang out somewhere like you've been talking about, whether it just be like, I don't really like the bar scene, but like maybe the coffee shop or even just the gas station.
If that's a problem for people, just download a language learning app and do language exchanges with strangers.
That's good.
I think every young man, what I would do is read philosophy, honestly, every day, and study a foreign language, become fluent in a foreign language.
Study philosophy.
If you're really young and want to get into it, learn Mandarin. That's going to be the most useful language in the next,
why is that?
I think, 50 years. Chinese, Mandarin, because they're the economic superpower.
I see, because they're taking over.
Well, they already have taken over for the most part.
Have.
They're in the process of taking over. So there's going to be lots of opportunities in Asia. So if you're young and enterprising, that's what I would do.
Have you been to Asia?
Not in a while.
Yeah.
Not in a long time. But that's what I do.
Think of their culture over there. What is...
Now you have to talk to someone who's more familiar with it. I know it's nowhere near as bad or as oppressive as the dumb bullshit in our media makes it out to be.
Women?
Well, the thing is, in China, there's a dearth of women. Like, there's more men than there are women because they had the one-child policy for a while. So, sadly, I think a lot of girls were aborted, Wow. So, that's a problem. But that's specific to China. I don't know how... that is in other countries. In like South Korea, for example, there's a huge culture war that's even bigger than the one we have here. I don't know if you've read about that, but you think men and women hate each other in America? They fucking despise each other in South Korea. Their birth rates are through the floor. They had some like quasi red pill prime minister that then got thrown out of office. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad.
Damn.
Japan, I don't know. I can't speak about all these authoritatively. I'm just saying that's just economically, they're the superpower. So it's just like 100 years ago, if you were in China, what would you tell, and you were like a wealthier intelligentsia type, what would you want your children to do? You want them to pursue education in America because that was the future. That's where all the economic opportunity was. Well, now, if you're in America and you look forward intelligently and reality-based, not bullshit you hear on Fox News, not garbage you hear from Bill O'Reilly, not all this other bullshit you hear from boomers, sadly, you conclude that that's the future. That's where most of the economic opportunity is in the future, is outside the U.S., not inside the U.S. The quality of life trajectory inside the U.S. is very low. It's going to get lower. It's going to get more expensive, and, you know, it's going to wither and degrade. How fast? I don't know, but that's what is happening. So, yeah, that's why I like Asia, but even other emerging markets too.
Not have the option to.
Oh, hold on, you are breaking up so badly.
The best thing you can do is buckle down, trim. Now breaking up.
You're the one breaking up.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can't hear you. You're breaking up. Yeah, if you can't afford to go elsewhere, I don't know what to tell you.
We've been here for over an hour or so. Okay.
Sounds good. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Live simply, live easy, and we'll continue some of these discussions again on the next episodes, and we'll have some guests coming online soon. Sorry, that's been downloading on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. We're also on Facebook as well, Instagram, and TikTok. So thank you for all the love, support, comments, and if you guys need anything, feel free to reach out, theuncensoredman@gmail.com. Have a great day.
See ya.
This is the Uncensored Man radio show. This show contains adult language and content. Listener discretion is advised.